Good morning there. You're watching QTV this morning, and I am Jenna Bosonko, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Ibrahim Abalde, as well as our newspaper review guest, Mr. Ade Drami.
Yes.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, so it's good to be here again, Jenaba, and you know, share the platform with you. We miss you. Where have you been yesterday? You were busy on some stuff.
Busy?
Doing one or two things.
You know why I was in here. Why are you
just
asking?
being naughty?
Why are you asking me if I was busy?
No,
are you trying to trap me?
No, I
particularly
forgot.
on black trousers Tuesday.
Is he? And the thing is he trying to trap me
No,
or something for me to say, oh,
no,
I was hustling. I was doing like a side hustle or something.
I mean, my bad. I
so mean.
forgot.
He's
I totally
so mean.
forgot.
You forgot.
Yes.
No, he didn't. He knows exactly what he's doing.
He's just being naughty.
Yeah, he knows exactly.
So can you
what
tell
he's
us,
doing.
please?
Can
Oh,
I
you don't
tell
want
us
to tell
what-
us, Mr. Ade. Let's move
You're
on.
crazy.
She was
Putting her on the
just not
spot.
available.
I was not
She
available.
was unavailable.
Yeah, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
All right, I rest my case.
Yeah. Because I know you don't want me to talk about it on
No,
television.
exactly.
I don't mind.
You don't. I mind.
But the viewers
because
mind and we mind.
Because if you, do, it's me, not you. Yeah. You are so mean.
I'm
person.
just kidding. Yes,
He's a
Mr.
bad-
Ade,
he's
good
a bad boy.
morning.
Yes, I'm the. If you're the amazing co-host, I'm the less than amazing newspaper reviewer.
No.
I think that's how I should be introduced.
Oh no,
No.
Mr. Ade.
No, I think that's
I,
that
always-
should be,
I,
no,
always
that should be
just,
my
I
intro.
just always want to make him feel good. It's just my way of
That's
making
cool.
sure
That's cool.
he's happy.
I miss hearing amazing
Yeah.
co-host on this program.
Yeah.
Yow faruloo fen yow ku fi toog nga ne ko
So
moom
man
la
daal
ku
man.
fi toog nga ne ko moom la
So
moom
man,
la.
I am a knife
what's-
with
what's on the
two
menu?
sides. Huh?
What's on the menu?
Yeah, we have a packed show
And
today.
let's honestly start by apologizing for being slightly late.
Yeah, we
And
apologize
I think
for
we
that.
really should.
Yeah, sometimes I don't feel good about apologizing about it. So I just feel, let's pretend
Let's
we did
pretend,
not come
but-
on.
but
But
we-
apologies for coming
I
on
think we
late
should,
because,
yeah.
you know, we have viewers. And the amazing part is the fact that we have viewers from across the country. You know, we
And
have
across the world.
across the world, I wanted to say,
Right,
because
yeah.
whenever I'm out to the Senegambia strip or something, I will always meet one or two people who are from the diaspora who would
Okay.
approach me and say, hey, I watch you and Balde, you guys never get along. So, you know, so they enjoy the program. So we're so grateful to all of you in the diaspora and also in rural Gambia who watch the show. You know, we are more than happy to be able to accompany you every single morning to, you know, take you through what is happening in the country. So let's head right on to our proverb.
And before we do, just a very quick one.
Yes,
two
please.
people approached me over the weekend.
Yeah.
Completely separately. And both of them addressed me as Dr. Darami. I'm not Dr. Darami. Please. I am not. So please. And I'm like, are you sure you've got the right guy? And they said, yeah, you're the guy on QTV. I said, but I'm not. I've
I'm not
never,
doctor.
ever been introduced as Dr. Darami. So please, stop it.
Yeah, but it's okay if
Yeah,
they
it's
feel
fine.
like
I
if-
think
I
if
think
that's
they
how
feel
that's
you're
how
intellectually
no, that's
there,
how they rate him.
they stand.
As
So-
long as they didn't call me Professor Dr. Alhaji.
That's how they
I'm
rate
cool.
you. So I mean,
I'm
go
cool.
by it and just forget
You're
about
lucky
it.
they didn't call you Professor, Doctor, Alhaji, Nasiruddin,
James Junkun.
Babili
Bata,
Mansa,
exactly.
Doctor.
Yes, correct. At least
In fact,
They
I mean,
spared me that.
names,
Yeah,
you know, names, a lot of names, a lot of titles.
Yeah.
What is the use of titles? A lot of them.
But sometimes you work for them.
they have their uses.
You know, for example, if you're a doctor or a professor, you want people to call you that.
Yeah, of
But, you know, most of the time, some people also get it through, you know, honorary degrees. Like if you're a celebrity and stuff, which they can strip you off as well if they feel like you're not at par anymore with, for example, Diddy was stripped off his honorary degree,
Yeah, got it.
you know, when the scandal
The scandal
happened.
broke.
So, yeah.
But at the end of the time, even if you are given that as an honor, a degree is a degree. A doctor is a doctor.
No, it's not. It really isn't.
If you are a doctor,
Anyway,
if
we-
they give
we
it to you,
digress.
you know. So
But, yeah.
the proverb, Janaba.
Yes, so our proverb is, it is out of ignorance that a goat will attend a leopard's party. It is out of ignorance that a goat will attend a leopard's party.
Is leopard the fastest animal or the cheetah?
Cheetah.
Yeah.
And it does it without cheating. But so what's your interpretation?
What is a goat doing at a leopard's party?
That's
Big
what-
question.
What are you
that's-
doing there?
That's what the leopards were asking just before they ate the goat. like, dude, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
You know, but what's your interpretation of the proverb beyond
Well,
the literal sense?
this is so funny.
It's fun.
You know, I'll give you the honor to
No.
to
I
start.
asked you first.
Okay, I want to.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So I'll take it. I just feel like as an individual, you should go places
Where
you're
you
invited, or you should go places where you can relate to the people who are attending that particular event. Even when we were young, we would always be told, go where you belong, where you have a sense of belonging. Obviously, in a leopard's party, it's just for leopards.
Yeah,
it's not meant for goats, you know, so you're not meant to be there. It's
Not only that, you're in danger.
Yes, yes. So that's the thing. So the danger aspect and then also the sense of belonging. And most of the time when you go to a place where you do not have a sense of belonging, automatically danger comes in. Even, you know, when we talk about racism, you know, when people go into certain countries and there's a lot of racism, you understand that first of all, you do not have a sense of belonging, and racism can bring about violence, you know. So sometimes it is important to identify where you belong, you know, even putting aside the danger aside, check your principles as an individual. Be respected, because if you're not invited somewhere, it means you're not wanted there. Do not force it. Maybe the goat wants to be a leopard, but unfortunately, he can't be. So go where you're supposed to be, and then you'll be no danger, no vex, nothing.
Don't put yourself.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that's direct, and you know it makes sense. You know, sometimes do not take certain things for granted.
Yeah.
The leopards, the goat going to a leopard's party, he's taking his life for granted,
and he's taking a risk with
with
Yes.
his life. So
Really.
certain risks, I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, you will hear people will tell you in life you need to take risk. You understand? But obviously, if you know, if I invest into this business or if I do certain things, I might not get anything from it. It's going to be losses and losses and losses. So why should you invest in such a business?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And that's one aspect of it. Another slightly different aspect. I once was involved in. We were organizing a conference in London, and it's one of these places, kind of like the Sadauda Kairaba International Conference Center.
Right.
So you had several rooms where there were several conferences going on, and you know, I was in the middle of giving the speech and introduction, and some people came in, about a group of 10 people came in, and they sat down, and I then continued, and then one of them raised her hand, and she said, sorry to interrupt, I know we interrupted you when we came in, we're going to have to interrupt you because we've just realized we're in the wrong conference.
What? After you already delivered your speech?
No, I was in the middle of it.
Oh my
And
God!
when I was doing that bit, that's when they realized that this is not the room we should be in. They were meant to be in a completely different one, and it was quite funny. I mean, everybody laughed, including them. You know, it wasn't a big deal, but it was quite.
So there was
quite humorous. And they
two
came
or
in.
three
They came in about 10 of them.
conferences happening at the same
At
time.
the same time.
Parallel sessions.
Parallel sessions,
Yeah.
and so they came in, you know, kind of
Majestically.
and well, not majestically. They sort of were kind of apologetically about, oh, sorry to interrupt your speech, you know, and then they all sat down, and as I continued, they thought, so, sorry.
Oh my God!
And they were kind of embarrassed, you know. They had to all get up, and then, you know, they told them,
Distract
no,
everybody.
You want the other room.
Wow!
You know.
And you
So
had
that
to
was
do
kind
it
of-
all over again.
No, all over again. I just kind of carried on from
Wow!
where I had
That
stopped.
must have been really
But that was
distracting.
kind of, you know, kind of like
Yeah.
the
So that's
thing
it.
about-
Go
but that-
where you
but that
belong.
one, it wasn't
Go where
particular.
you are
It's about
invited.
do
Yeah.
your research before
Yeah.
you come.
It's
You know,
very
check
important.
properly that this is where I'm supposed to be, and you know, it was a sign on the door saying what our conference was. So if they'd looked at it,
They could
you
have.
know, they couldn't
yeah.
just assume that, oh, this is where, and then you kind of walk in, and then like 2 or 3 minutes later, you're like, sorry, we're in the wrong place. Can we leave? You know, it's, like I said, it was quite humorous at the time, but they just should have done their due diligence.
So generally, you know, just check well, like you said, where you're supposed to go to. Maybe the goat went into the leopard's party by mistake. You never know.
To the
So
wrong
make sure
party.
to
Maybe
check
someone
properly.
pushed him.
Yeah,
And he
you know.
entered the room.
So make sure
and
to
then you
check.
saw the menu. What are we having tonight?
Exactly.
We're having goat.
We're having goat. So we'll just go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll head right on to current affairs. We'll be right back. Q Money and Orange Money has just made money transfer easier. Now you can send money from Gambia to Senegal directly from your Q Money wallet. So what are you waiting for? Get your Q Money account now and start sending money to your friends and families through Orange Money in Senegal now. For more information, call our customer care on 133. Q Money, Sunu Kalpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Q Money e Orange Money Johnny weɓini nuldugol mbuɗi mi yetoma joni hiɗa wawi nuldude mbuɗi iwra ko Gambia ɗo yaha Sénégal e Q Money wallet ma on eyyi ko honno wonɗa e fadde mi yetoma udduto Q Money account ma on joni fuɗɗoɗa nuldude mbuɗi e teriɓe ma rewa ɗon ka Orange Money nder Sénégal fi heɓugol hen ko laaɓi hiɗa wawi noddude Q Money customer care e 133 Q Money suñu kalpe ɗum no yaadi e sartaji. Q Money anin Orange Money ye bulodi nyola pour ka kodi kio sone yandi ka bonan Gambia banko kan kata Senegal banko kan anin Q Money wallet e ka mune batu e muna fan Q Money account wala sign pour ka dati ka kodoki e terimal anila dimbayal kana anin Orange Money.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. I'm here with my co-host, Ibrahim Abalde, as well as yes, and as well as our newspaper review guest, Mr. Adedurami. We just took a look at the African proverb, which was on it is out of ignorance that a goat will attend a leopard's party, and which we've delved into. Now we're heading right on to the newspaper review
And you know,
to take a look at what the papers are saying.
Interestingly,
Yes.
that leopard, many people cannot pronounce it.
Why? They say leopard?
Leopard.
What you
But
used
you
to
can't
say
blame
that?
them.
Did you used to say that? You
No,
used to
I
say.
don't say that.
Are you sure?
He does.
Leopard's
He
fine.
said he doesn't
He-
now.
He doesn't.
I've never said that.
But anyway, let's start with the Point newspaper, which is talking about a drug seizure at the airport worth $51 million seized. And there has...
It's a rough guess.
That's a lot of money,
Yes.
Mr. Ade. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
What are you thinking?
He's thinking, are they safe?
I'm planning for some
Because let's
investment.
not forget, there's a current case, although nobody's been found guilty,
Yeah.
of a magistrate who had is accused of actually taking drugs that had been confiscated in a particular drugs-related case, and that case is before the courts. In fact, it was
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
They were back in court yesterday, so it's a serious amount. And you know, every time we hear about these drug seizures, we have to celebrate the fact that they've been intercepted. But as I said, there's always the danger, because when people look at the amount of money that there is that can be made from drugs, it's very tempting. That's why people go into it in the first place,
Yeah.
because potentially you can get very, very rich, and so you're harming people by these drugs. And interestingly, even before I knew this was going to be a story, Babuka Sise and I were discussing about drugs and about, you know, I'd watched a story about a man who would smuggle drugs from South Africa to Mauritius, was imprisoned, and his whole story, he sentenced to 9 years, he served 6. And, you know, he was surprised that his twin brother, identical twin brother, wanted nothing to do with him because it was drugs, you know, because the twin brother knew the harm that drugs can do to people, you know, particularly these prohibited drugs. So yeah, the seizure, we welcome it.
Yeah.
And every time there is a seizure, as I said, we welcome it.
But you know,
we
the
hope-
surprising thing is, I mean, when when drugs are seized, and you know, the perpetrators are taken to you know, certain places. You understand? So it's important for us to learn, but they keep coming all the time. You know.
People will always, and that's the point I was kind of making, because the gains from it are so tremendous. People are willing to take the risk. You and I sit here, and somebody published quite shocking figure of the number of people who went on the so-called backway journey and drowned. I mean, despite the fact that just from Little Gambia, over 1,000 people drowned in the space of 18 months or whatever it was, hasn't stopped people, and it won't stop people. Because for those who go on the journey, they'll always think that that won't be me. I will be the guy who will get through. And it's the same with drug traffickers. or I won't be the one who will get caught. I'll be the one who will get through the
Escape.
system.
Yeah.
I might bribe a customs official. I might bribe somebody at the airport, whatever, and I'll get away. And so if you do get away, they think, oh, you know, the rewards are great financially. And so they take the risk. So I don't see it ever ending. I mean, just in a kind of related thing, they're talking about fentanyl, that a lot of the fentanyl that gets into the United States comes through Canada. And so yesterday, Justin Trudeau, the outgoing Prime Minister, was saying that, you know, they're going to tighten up border security to stop fentanyl getting into the United States. And so Donald Trump has halted his tariff for 30 days that he was going to impose on Canada and on Mexico, because Mexico have given a kind of similar commitment that they will tighten things up to stop, you know, people coming across the border as illegal immigrants and so on. And you know, it's you know, it's
Yeah.
the rewards are what tempt people. So when we say, oh, why do people do it? I think when you look at the financial gains from it, that's why they do it.
Imagine, I mean, if you are caught with drugs and you are sent to prison for 9 years, 10 years, I mean, it's a huge waste of time.
I mean, that guy in the story, David Hart, his name is, and you can look him up, because whilst he was in prison, prison actually ended up being, in a weird kind of way, beneficial to him, because he saw something that shocked him. And whilst he was in prison in Mauritius, he was reading a book one day, the lights went off, and he asked for a light bulb. They gave him a light bulb, but instead of the bayonet, it was the screw type. And so it didn't work. And he complained. And then he thought, you know, why don't I design a socket that can take any type of bulb? And guess what?
A universal.
And that's what he's ended up designing. So now that he's out of prison, he's actually making money from that invention.
And we are using the universal socket now.
You can, and you can look it up. David Hart, he's the guy who, and he did that while he was in prison.
He was in prison.
I think the drugs issue, even in Gambia currently, pharmacies, you know, somebody can just walk into a pharmacy and buy diazepam.
Without a prescription.
Without a prescription.
Which is,
and diazepam is a very
know,
dangerous drug. You know, even tramadol, because you're not supposed to buy tramadol without a prescription, but they would take the tramadol, open it up, and then just sniff the powder inside or whatever. That's what they do, which is very dangerous. So I think at the level of Gambia as well, there should be some level of control as to pharmacies and prescription
the types of drugs that you are supposed to sell.
Exactly, it's very important.
I think the
also
rules
moving
are there.
on.
I think the rules are there that
the
certain
rules are
drugs
already there.
should not be sold without a prescription.
Yes.
But we circumvent
You know,
the rules.
I've said it the other day.
Also,
you
know, we can take a look at the Spain issue. On Forea, hundreds of desperate youths stormed the Department of Labor to get the job to go to Spain. So there's this memorandum of understanding between the Gambia and Spain to get workers from Gambia to go to Spain to work. But yesterday we saw hundreds of young
and
people.
we saw Spain so interested in it that even Pedro Sanchez came over to the Gambia last year.
Yeah, he did.
You know, as kind of part of that memorandum, and you know, the promise was there. And look,
it's happening now.
We're talking about people going on the back way. The promise of getting into Europe is very enticing. And so people think that, oh, this is one way of getting into Europe. And to be honest, you suspect that.
I would have asked what happened to the Saudi Arabia agreement.
That's still there.
Yes.
It's still there. But for the Saudi one,
they've already left for Saudi Arabia.
Well, it's an ongoing thing. But don't forget, for the Saudi one, it's mainly sort of domestic workers. For the Spain one, it's mainly fruit and vegetable pickers.
Agricultural.
And agricultural type work. So it's a kind of different thing. And nobody's going to go and storm, you know, whatever, saying, I want to get to Saudi, whatever. Because that's actually been in existence anyway, Saudi and other Arab countries.
It's different.
They're
Domestic
now trying
work
to
and now agriculture. I think the agricultural approach is more enticing because you're going to go pick fruits and vegetables.
Well, it's important. I mean, I think this agreement will help because if you look at the number of youths that we are supposed to die when it comes to the back way, now they have a very safe way for them to travel to Spain.
It will help if the numbers that Spain takes in are significant. Otherwise, it won't help. It'll be a drop in the ocean. No pun intended.
If the number is not high, it can be chaotic.
Of course.
Because considering you know, what we've seen, people scaling the fence yesterday. Like, you can see some sort of hunger to actually get on that plane and get to Spain to do this walk. So, for example, if the number is very limited, you know, it can be chaotic, because then the remaining individuals will be disgruntled, and then the anger is just going to continue.
And then it leads the whole system open to corruption.
Well,
Exactly.
And you know, one thing people have to understand, not all of them that will get the chance to
They
leave.
know that.
Some of them will not be able to get the access.
That's what we're
they
saying.
will-
It's a
That's-
selection
that's
process.
exactly what
they
we're
will.
saying.
And you know, there is also a limitation that Spain can take. And at the same time, you know, it's not only Gambia. You have Senegal. You have other
as well.
countries
Yes.
as well. So
Yeah.
these are all numbers put together at the end of the time.
Yeah,
You know.
this is like just like a diplomatic relation kind of thing. That is beyond the Gambia, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So they have to pick here, pick here, pick here, pick here.
Yeah.
So it's not like just Gambia. So young people do not have to put their hopes up to an extent that it would affect them,
Yeah.
or quit your job
that
in
you know, if you don't get-
anticipation for this. You know, look for a plan B or something.
Yeah.
And also, we have the construction industry in Gambia. You know, most of the individuals in construction who are doing business will always complain about the fact that they want young people, Gambian youth, to go and work there. They're open to working with them. But most of these jobs are done by the foreigners, because there's no Gambian labor that actually exists, which is worth thinking of as well.
I was shocked when a building that is being put up not far from here, I walked in, as I walked past, I heard lots of people speaking Creole. I'm like, Salomande, what's you know, and they were 50 laborers, and about 40 of them were from Sierra Leone. That's here in the Gambia,
Yeah.
just, you know, not far from where I'm sitting right now.
Yeah.
I was aghast, actually. I'm like, how come? You know, this is a place being,
Yeah.
you know.
So quickly,
Yeah.
because we have 1 minute.
What? 1 minute?
Yeah, Senegalese businessman, politician, Bougane Gueye, met with President Adama Barrow. Do you see this as because online, you know, there's a lot of query that it's a diplomatic blunder. It's not okay diplomatically. He's opposition. Bougane has had history with the current presidency and all of that. But he came to Gambia to invest $25 million US. I'm not sure in what area. How do you see that meeting? How do you view it? Is it not right?
Well, for me, Mr. Ade, before you,
Yeah.
I mean,
We have a minute to go. Quickly,
I
Mr.
don't,
Ade.
I don't
Give us
think,
30 seconds,
I
yes.
don't think it's wrong. The president is here for everybody. And once you are an investor, when you come to the country, you are open to meet the president. Political affiliations, I think that should not prevent any investment that is supposed to benefit our country.
I agree with you 100%. If we keep saying that, amongst other things, we want foreign investors, the fact that a foreign investor also happens to have an opposition
Right.
role in another country should not preclude them from coming to the Gambia to invest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a nonsense.
So it's okay.
It's a
you know,
complete
for
nonsense. People are
them.
just making
I
noise
thought the
for the
same,
noise, for
actually.
the sake
It
of
doesn't-
noise.
it
Even
doesn't
if he's
even
not
make sense.
investing in Gambia,
Yeah.
I do not think it's wrong for them to meet and have a chit chat. Because when Usman Sonko came to Gambia, we saw him interacting with the opposition.
But we shouldn't. We
At the
shouldn't.
end of the
we
day.
shouldn't
So it's-
treat.
it's
we
totally
shouldn't
okay.
treat
Yeah.
oppositions to us
It's
enemies.
totally
To an
okay.
extent, we cannot have a roundtable discussion.
Yeah.
Correct.
So thank you so much, Mr. Ade, for joining us on the program.
A
Yesterday, you were discussing the issue of the 60 years celebration for Gambia's
Gambia's
independence.
independence.
Yeah.
And I like the approach that you have invented, which is that every single, I know you worked hard for this, so we're giving you your flowers, coming up with the fact that throughout the month of February, we will be focusing on the Gambia at 60 and looking back.
Yeah.
And this story by Usman Jatta is taking a look at the Gambia, the River Gambia. Whatever happens, whatever conversation that you have outside of the Gambia, the river must come into play because it's our natural treasure.
Yeah, sure.
And Usman Jatta was out to actually interview different stakeholders to take a look at the River Gambia then, the River Gambia now, and the River
And
Gambia
in
for
the
the future.
future. Yep.
Let's take a look at that. We'll be right back.
The Gambia River is undoubtedly the country's most important natural asset which contributed significantly to the Gambia's path to independence. As a natural boundary dividing the country into two halves, North and South Bank respectively, the Gambia River's history includes its usage as a key trade route and its role in the transatlantic slave trade, a dark chapter in the Gambia's history. Historian Hassoum Ceesay emphasized the need to protect and preserve the Gambia River as a national asset.
The River Gambia was everything to us. I mean, it means everything. Communication, cultivation. I mean, the River Gambia as heritage. The River Gambia as navigation. Linking us, to the world. You see, I mean, if you consider it was the River Gambia that put the Gambia into the global village, through exploration. You see, so really, it is an asset that has to be protected and preserved at all costs because it also symbolizes our country. It is a unique phenomenon that we only have a North Bank and a South Bank. Thanks to the river. You see, I mean, it eases communication, such that there is no community that is far from the river bank or from the bank of a tributary.
Navigable by boat across the length and breadth of the country, the Gambia River originated from the Fouta Djallon highlands of Guinea, flowing through Senegal to the Gambia and emptying into the Atlantic Ocean. Ceesay further elaborated on the significance of future investments to restore the trade routes of the river.
Thanks to the river, in the 1940s, 50s and even before, the rural areas were highly animated, in commerce, in business, particularly from October to end of March. You see, then you had what was called urban-rural migration. Thanks to the River Gambia, because you had all these progressive, all these, business hubs. These tenders, these river ports, from Bintang, Balingo, Kaur, Kuntaur, Fatoto, Georgetown, Pirai Tenda. You see, these were all major trading centers that attracted a multicultural, even a multinational population of Lebanese, Syrians, European traders, and Gambians, all competing, in the lucrative trade, along the ports of the River Gambia. So what the River Gambia means is basically prosperity. So any investment that can be done, to restore the communication, to restore the trade along the river, will be very good investment for the progress and prosperity of our country.
The river's unique tributaries are home to several flora and fauna. Additionally, the Gambia River employs several people who rely on the river for their survival. Its middle and upper flats in the Central River region, south and north, are used to cultivate rice and peanuts. The proposed construction of the port of Kaur and Basep by the Turkish Albera Group indicates the government's commitment to revitalize the old trade routes of the river, shaping the nation's cultural and economic identity. The Gambia's 68th independence celebration will serve as a reflection on the past and a hopeful look towards the future, with the Gambia River flowing steadily as the eternal witness to the nation's story. Usman.
That story by Usman Jatta on the River Gambia. So like I said, every day be expecting stories ahead of 18 February, where the Gambia will be, on that day, the Gambia will be celebrated its 60th anniversary, which we're all excited about. So now, Ibrahim, let's move our attention to World Cancer Day. Today, the 4th of February, is World Cancer Day, set aside to raise awareness when it comes to different kinds of cancers, how we can ensure early detection as well as prevention. And we're joined by Fatoumata Jaite, who's the Principal Program Officer at the National Cancer Control Program, as well as Abu Mas, Assistant Program Manager, National Cancer Control Program. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio. I think beyond World Cancer Day, considering the direction that cancer is taking globally, is something that there should be continuous you know, awareness raising, and the fact that there's a day designated, we can also, you know, use it to remind ourselves. Fatoumata, how is Gambia commemorating this year's World Cancer Day, which is today?
Thank you, Jainaba, and thank you for having us here this morning. Like you rightly mentioned, today is the World Cancer Day. This day is set aside for the whole world, everybody to unite together to commemorate this day, to celebrate this day, and at least we use it to strengthen prevention, awareness, treatment, and all the way to palliative care. This is the day we use to enlighten the whole world and about cancer and talk to everybody about cancer. Like you rightly mentioned, it's 4th February, and I know this will be a new news to most of the Gambians because we all know Pink October. Pink October is set aside for breast cancer, which everybody knows about, and it's also the same one that we celebrate liver cancer. But Pink October, everybody thinks about breast. Maybe it's associated to female, and you know, anything that is feminine, that one is everybody's business. So maybe that is why everybody knows about Pink October. January also is set aside for cervical cancer, which people also hardly talk about. And this February is for all the cancers, from liver, breast, prostate, cervical, and all other cancers. So this year we have series of activities that we want to do as a program, National Cancer Control Program, ranging from symposium. So we are planning to organize a symposium, because this theme for this year's celebration is United by Unique. That is like the uniqueness in cancer. For example, cancer affects individuals uniquely. What somebody might experience when diagnosed with cancer, it might be different from somebody's story. So we want to hear unique stories, individual stories in their cancer journeys, individual family or families, how they cope during the treatment or process. Phases or process of their family members. So this year's theme is centered on that. So we want to organize symposium, invite cancer survivors and experts from cancer dealing with cancer in the facilities to talk about cancers, and these individuals also to come out and talk about how they were feeling about during their treatment, or once they were diagnosed, what did they go through, the treatment process, or even whatever it takes during the time they were diagnosed with cancer, and even the experts also how they approach different cancers and different patients. So that symposium we are planning to have it at the OIC Kairaba conference hall. We also planning to organize a caravan tour, that is to go around in the communities, sensitize them about cancer, because so many people in the Gambia, they don't know about cancer. The only time they know about cancer is when a family member is affected or themselves. We also intend to organize a screening program, both cervical cancer and breast cancer screening, because these are the leading cancers in the Gambia. We also have liver cancer, is also another leading cancer, but it cannot be like, we cannot screen liver cancer, but these two cancers we can screen them, and when detected early, we can also treat them. And we intend to do the screening program at the Gunjur Health Center. So basically, these are the activities that we want to do, that we want to celebrate World Cancer Day.
Exactly. So let's engage Abu Mas. Can you tell us how is this day going to create more cancer awareness?
Thank you very much. First of all, you didn't introduce yourselves, and you know our names. You are Jainaba, I can understand.
Yeah,
Ibrahim Abalde.
Ibrahim Kapullo.
Kompullo,
yeah. Thank you so very much for having us here. Remarkably, today, 4th of February, is unique when it comes to cancer control. Because today is the Silver Jubilee, the birth of cancer control, 4th of February. Union for International Cancer Control, in one of their meetings in Paris, this day was chosen to be a World Cancer Day, meaning today is a Silver Jubilee. Celebration comes in two perspectives, either in happiness or in agony. We cannot celebrate Cancer Day in happiness, because something that has come to kill us cannot be welcome anywhere. I've been saying that cancer is a killer disease. It's not silent, but before it's manifest, you are gone. And here we don't go to hospital until we are sick. It's just like you, the owners of the vehicles, you don't go to mechanics until you have a
You have a
breakdown.
fault here.
And my boss has rightly mentioned something here. Survivors should be in the narrative because they are the victims. They are the ones who should tell their stories. But getting them here is a challenge because stigmatization is a problem. This is not a transmissible disease. People should understand that. So that people who are undergoing problem who are survivors could be on the narratives to inspire others to go and screen.
Yeah, so Mr. Mas, due to time constraints, I just want to understand what are some of the challenges currently that exist as obviously as a developing country. There are a lot of challenges when it comes to helping patients with cancers and all of that, because often you would hear somebody say, "Dafa am cancer, nyunko yobu India, nyunko yobu Germany, nyunko yobu Benedica." So what are the existing realities when it comes to cancer-related matters?
Number one, awareness. You can be aware of something, but whether you take it or not. Number two, resource. Cancer is deadly and is expensive.
Right.
And the government cannot do it alone. Having said that, going to India, probably the cost will get you up to $1 million. The nearest neighbor, Senegal, probably you spend nothing less than 300,000 to 400,000. The accommodation, the hospital. But the realities on the ground here is the resource. And the medication, and then the screening. Because having the machine and the reagents costs money. And the sustainability of that is very key. This is why public-private partnership is very key.
So if that is the case, then Fatimata, if that is the case, because due to time constraints, we just want to bring these issues out. So the National Cancer Control Program, then where does your work come in? Because you've already understood the existing realities when it comes to cancer. So how do you come in then to ensure that you have the right partnerships for the materials, the medications, the screening, the chemotherapy, or whatever that we are going to need for patients in the country?
Yes, okay. Mr. Mas has just mentioned that awareness is a challenge here. Many people, they don't know about cancer, like I mentioned. And many people also sit at home until they are sick, they go to the hospital. With cancer, when it is detected early, it can be treated. But when it is detected late, we have challenges, and that is where the challenges are in the Gambia here. Most of the people, before they presented to the hospital, is full-blown cancer, and the hospital cannot do much about it. The only thing they can do is to go overseas, and maybe very few will come back home safe, and some will even lose their lives along the way.
Sometimes there are diagnostic challenges. Sometimes you talk to people and they're like, "Oh, I had cancer for years, but it could not be diagnosed in the Gambia. It was diagnosed elsewhere." Why does that challenge exist?
We have diagnostic facilities in the Gambia. For example, breast cancer, we have a mammogram. Cervical cancer also, we have it. Most of the facilities are doing cervical cancer screening.
How about other cancers?
Other cancers like liver cancer, those ones, you hardly, for you to screen them is very difficult. Unless if you go to the hospital once in a while, you do a general checkup, maybe they look for your renal function test or your liver function test. They can detect that you have a liver problem, early symptoms. But if not, if you sit at home, it's very difficult for one to detect that you have cancer, liver cancer, except if you start manifesting the symptoms. So what I will urge all Gambians is for everybody to go to the hospital to get screened. We are doing breast cancer screening, we are doing cervical cancer screening, and we are even doing prostate screening. These are the 3 cancers that we can screen in the hospital. So now, just to answer the other question that you just asked, we are trying as a program, National Cancer Control Program, we are trying to partner with CSOs in the Gambia even international bodies. We are trying to partner with them in order to get all these things on the ground here, all the screening facilities and the diagnostic facilities in the country. Currently, we even have one oncology surgeon in the Gambia. He is Dr. Jaita. He is doing a great job at the EFSTH hospital. We also, once in a while, invite other oncologists in the Gambia to do other
oncologists. What are they?
Oncologists are the doctors that are specialized to treat cancer. Cancer treatment.
Okay.
So even chemotherapy, we are doing it in the Gambia. Provided you have your chemo drug, sometimes it's available in the hospital. And the good thing in the Gambia is all these drugs, once they are available in the Gambia, it's free.
So what are we doing? What are we doing before we get all these material, these equipments and all these treatment, machines? What are we doing to sensitize the general public? Early detection. Go and check yourself. I mean, are we doing this continually?
Yes, that is now the mandate of the NCCP. This is why this year, this has never happened in the Gambia, for 4th February to be celebrated or commemorated as World Cancer Day. This is the first time. And our program is a very new program. It's barely like 2 years old. So we are trying to sensitize Gambians to know about cancer. We are doing it in radios. We are doing it in television. This is our second time here. We were here some time back. We met you and the other lady. So this is what we are trying to do to sensitize Gambians. Let them be aware about cancer. Let them know about cancer. As for breast examination, that one, even every man can do it for yourself.
So quickly, also, Mr. Mas, I know you will be doing a caravan, like you mentioned, Fatoumata. So in this caravan, are you targeting farmers? Because we all are aware of aflatoxins when it comes to groundnut, our groundnut consumptions, and how aflatoxins are a huge factor to cause liver cancers in the Gambia, according to studies. So are farmers in any way going to be sensitized when it comes to aflatoxins in groundnuts, Mr.?
Right. Programs like this, they are key because the common market woman are the one selling these pasted groundnut soups. And trying to pick up the aflatoxins after that, meaning before they roast the groundnut, those suspected has this fungal contamination should be out. And then the caravan is the one targeting them, what in particular the common market woman. The market managers, food security also, and then our national health promotion unit. They've been doing good before the beginning of cancer control program. But farmers are more to be targeted. You may be doing something, being ignorant of it. You may think that it's a good thing, unless and until you are made to know about it. So those aflatoxins probably
will be looked into. I'm glad because I mean we all eat the domoda, we all eat the chura,
especially
the mbahals and everything. And with these, you know, the groundnut that we are consuming, if they are affected, it's a challenge. So any final words before we leave?
Yes, my final word is for every Gambian to know that we have cancer services in our health facilities. Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, Kanifing General Hospital, and other, even Bundung Maternal and Child Hospital, they have these cancer services. So everybody should go out and get yourself screened for breast cancer, cervical cancer, prostate cancer, and once in a while we should get off on our own and go to the hospital to get general checkup to detect these cancers early. Cancer, if it is detected early, it can be treated, but when it is detected late, it's very difficult to treat, especially in the Gambia. That's my final word.
Thank you so much for coming on the program. Like you mentioned, cancer is a very deadly disease and it goes beyond the patient.
Exactly.
It affects the family as well because palliative care is very challenging. And it's continuous and it's expensive. You need nurses to employ nurses at home to take care of your family and all of that. So let us make it our duty today, 4th of February. If you cannot go and do a general checkup today, book an appointment and do it later in the week. But let's dedicate February to the month that we will go and do the general checkup for the year, just to make sure that we are safe. Because with early detection, you know, it can be prevented. Thank you so much for joining us and good luck on your nationwide sensitization program. Before we go for the break, Ibrahim, we will just talk about the fact that more than 60 police officers and fire service personnel have been on a 2-week training, and this training was based on emergency response, which is very key. Recently, we've seen a lot of fire outbreaks that are happening across the country, and with the required capacity building for emergency response, these will happen, but at least the damage will be less.
Absolutely.
So we'll be joined by the PRO of the Fire and Rescue Service to further tell us the possible impact of this 2 weeks training on emergency response. We'll be right back.
Mitoma. First time cross, really threatening, and it's dropped for Minte, rifled in! Out.
Did you know you can buy cash power using Q Money Wallet absolutely free up to $30,000 Use our app or dial 323# and select Q Power. Choose Register Meter. Enter your meter number. Dial *323# and follow these simple steps. Number 1, select option 3 for Q Power. Number 2, choose option 1 to buy any amount of Q Power. Enjoy free QCell airtime every time you cash in to purchase Q Power. For any inquiries, call 133. Q Money, Sunyu Kalpe.
Mitoma. First time cross, really threatening, and it's dropped for Minte, rifled in! Out.
Hidandi da wawi sodude cash power e Q Money wallet maong te ayobata hai hunde ida wawi sode ko yeha guluji chapan $30. Kawatano baby, wadu dial *323# joka sartajiding suboda option 3 fi Q Power. Ontumasi suboda register meter number sa gaini natina number meter maong. Wadu dial *323# joka sartajiding suboda option 3 fi Q Power. Ontumasi suboda ko jelu falda sodude. Awawa hebude ko bura andrere free QCell airtime watu kala soruda Q Power fi hebugol hen ko labi da wayno de 133 Q Money Sunyu Kalpe.
Mitoma. First time cross, really threatening, and it's dropped for Minte, rifled in! Out.
Korealo neko anila Q Money wallet isa Q Power sanno katafo wulitan saba andung ita fenjola. Ibe minkela ibanna Apple download la wala yesta 323# dial B yebula sartol noma. Follow ye register mita tomo. Fulanjao yela mita nomo.
Welcome back from that short break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning, and I am Jenna Bosonko here with my co-host Ibrahim Abaldi, and 60 police officers and fire and rescue service officers have been trained on emergency response, and we're joined by Pate Jiba, who is the PRO of the fire and rescue services. Thank you so much for joining us, PRO, to update us on the impact of a 2-week training specifically on emergency response. Please take us through.
Yeah, it's a pleasure being invited here once again to actually discuss matters that are very key to our country. Having said that, I would like to first of all congratulate the governance of the day for creating a level playing ground for us to be able to be trained. Without them, there is nothing possible. This training took place in Bakau, and it lasted for 2 weeks, right? Okay, and it was given to us by our Spanish counterparts. I used to sit down here and tell you we are having a relationship with the British, of course, yes. But we've got other partners, and these partners are our friends from the Canary Islands. And they offered training for 2 weeks, and the training was centered on, like you said, emergency response, but precisely on well rescue, defensive driving, vehicle maintenance, and also gender-based violence, something like that. You know, we also have these men and women in the fire service and men and women in the police who come together to be trained on how to deal with this gender issue, not to harass each other or something like that, because we are all mixed together, and you never can tell what may end up happening at the end of the day.
True.
You may be violating somebody's rights without knowing, not because you want to, but you do not know that you're violating my rights. And then, in as much as we are working every day, the chances of going into those kind of violations are
absolutely
too large. Yeah. So basically, these were some of the trainings that were conducted over the 2 weeks period.
You talked about the gender-based violence, which I'm very interested in. Is it only within the force or even outside, your conduct outside?
Yeah, everywhere.
Okay.
Within the fire service and even outside of the fire service. And in fact, when we meet with our sister forces, this is why this training was given to police and the fire departments. And for the emergency response, you know, like the well rescue, vehicle maintenance, defensive driving, and so on and so forth, we were given this. But by extension, other trainings were also part of the things, such as the gender-based violence and such things like that, was something that was provided to both institutions at the same time. The two trainings were concurrently running. This one was in Banjul, and the other one was in Bakau.
So what about, is there a specific, a session where you have to deal with mental health and stress, you know, during this training?
Yeah, you know, the training, like I said, there was this ambulance and paramedic training as well. You know, it is very health related. And during the course of the training, these things that you mentioned were all part of the combination of the knowledge that was shared during the course of the training. Because we deal with people who are under a state of mental distress.
True.
Sometimes they may not even know. And like when you look at the exercise, you can see the police creating cordon, you know, trying to stop the bystanders or, you know, sympathizers or family members from intruding into the risk zone. And that itself is traumatizing. And it is not because they want to join us in that crusade, but because they have a feeling that their loved ones are part of the problem. So you can see clearly what is happening on the screen. It is exactly what you mentioned here. Yeah.
So, Gauri, like I said before we started the session, we've seen few fire outbreaks happen. Most recently, we've seen the GTSC buses,
market,
you know, so the GTSC buses that were sold already to an individual. Luckily, they're not the buses that are currently in service, but, you know, it's useful at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, how is this training going to ensure that, you know, the fire service responds quickly and effectively to incidents as such, with Kama, the Sandika, as well as the GTSC fire outbreak that we've seen?
Yeah, you know, our swift response is determined by the availability of fleets.
Right.
That is the availability of fire engines. In fact, not only the training is the knowledge base, but the equipment part of it and the appliance is what we use to reach to any destination where we are needed.
Right.
And fortunately, within this period, we are able to have a lot of fire engines. I cannot even mention the number of fire engines that came from Holland, that came from Spain, you know, and that is the same time we have already, you know, some fire engines also on the ground that are already available. So putting all these fleets together, now the strength has been improved. And then the only thing now that will cause some kind of problem, delay in the emergency response is maybe the callers. And then, the callers, I mean. When you do not call at the right time, it becomes something else, because it's like we are unable to get to the destination in time because we are not being informed.
The recent fire outbreaks that have happened, you were not called upon earlier than
I'm not
required?
I'm not saying that. Well, I'm just trying to warn. This is a piece of an advice that the response mechanism, when it comes to reaching the destination in time, you know, we have the capacity to respond.
At this
Remember, I used to sit down here and tell you that A, B, C, X, Y, Z stations are grounded here, that vehicles that are there are having problem. We have this, we have that, and they are going under some kind of maintenance.
True.
So that I used to say that here most of the time. But I will sit down here again and tell you comfortably that we are too happy and too lucky as well that we have a lot of vehicles at the moment, courtesy of these counterparts that I have just
So,
mentioned.
Mr. Jiba, my question is, with the incidences that we've seen recently, Birkama, GTSC, Sandika, as you can see currently, a lot of damage has been done. Was this as a result of, because now I'm happy about the fact that you said the resources are there.
Improvement.
So is it because you were not called upon early, that is why we have such a damage? Because such a damage that we are seeing, this damage is very massive. Is this related to you not being called upon early? Or you couldn't contain it? That's what I want to understand.
No, not about the containment, actually. In fact, it was contained. Remember, we have different ways of firefighting, okay? This was contained. Contained not because it was extinguished. You can see everything has turned to something else. But the fire, fortunately, had to stop there. Remember, it did not go to the neighborhood. It has to stop within what it was consuming. This already became fuel to the fire. And the fire had to, unfortunately, consume it in totality. But then, efforts were made to make sure that the fire did not get to the neighborhoods. I understand the offices and other environment, the rest of the environment was not affected because of the intervention of the fire service. So it was contained per se, because it was maintained within the same place and it did not go to the neighborhood. Okay, this, I may not attribute this thing to maybe lateness or whatever.
Okay.
You know,
it has nothing to do with
to do with lateness. You know, because the time we are called, that is the time that we assume the fire is starting.
Okay.
Maybe when we go back to find out when did the fire start, few people will be able to tell us it started at 9 o'clock, for example, and we were called at 10 o'clock. You know, that's 1 hour. I'm just giving you a scenario. If a fire starts at 9 o'clock and the fire service called at 10 o'clock, in our records, it is booked 10 o'clock. So we feel that the fire started at 10 o'clock. Can you see? And if you go back to the scene and then ask bystanders or those who started the fire, when did the fire start? Fear of probably being taken for further investigation or hoarding something that should not have been hoarded, information I mean.
They hide
and then they will hide, they will say, okay, it just started recently, but there will not be that sufficient evidence to say, no, it did not start at 10, it started at 9. So only thing we will do is, we will fight the fire. And normally what happens is, those that do not know will think we were called at the time the fire was starting. But imagine this place here, Kanifing, is too close to Bakau, too close to Abi, it's too close to Serekunda and even
Churchillstown.
Yeah, Churchillstown, I mean Kotu. So even Banjul is not too far from here.
True.
Remember, and I do not know what will lead to this whole thing burning down.
And it will take
That's why
time before a boss is burnt like that.
Imagine.
Because the damage is massive. That's why
probably this fire started almost 2 to 3 hours, and they were battling with it.
Probably. You know, people have extinguishers in their offices, which we definitely encourage. But we said extinguishers are first aid fire appliances, hand fire appliances. They can only extinguish a fire when the fire is starting, at its premature stage. But when you realize that extinguisher cannot do the work, still what you need to do is to call the nearest fire station. And I'm sure en route to the scene of fire, they'll call other stations, especially if they know the magnitude of the fire is big. But if you do not do that, this is what is going to be the result. I am not concluding that this is what happened, because we are still investigating. We will get to the bottom, and this happened just recently, and I am called here, and then we will just set light on it, you know. But then maybe when we get the overall information based on what has happened, that's the time we'll be able to tell you that the fire started at this time, and then we were called at that time. And then we do the analysis. Why should that happen? Why should a fire start this time? And that is our assumption. It's not, we are not concluding that the call was late, but then with what we are seeing, all of us are thinking that we were in call at the right time.
Yeah. So let's talk about the fire engines. Sometimes I think probably lack of technical know-how at some point. That's why most of these engines are parked. Do we have experts who normally can fix these engines when they are faulty?
Yeah, that is the very reason why part of the training that was conducted recently.
Because if I travel to some of your stations, the likes of Jarasoma, you know, Brikama, you'll see engines parked. And
they look new, huh? They look better.
Yes. So I just want to know whether you have the experts.
Yeah, that is exactly what we are referring to here. Remember, I said the training was a combination of vehicle maintenance, you know, advanced rescue techniques, you know, first aid training, and these gender-based issues. So vehicle maintenance used to be a problem for us. In fact, it's not only to the fire service, to all of us. Most of our vehicles, we carry them to, our own private vehicles, we carry them to the repairer, and they end up going to the mortuary because the technical know-how is not there. And then we cannot compromise a fire tender to a private vehicle.
No.
You know, maybe when I left my vehicle, you can see that, I left my vehicle out there because it's kaput.
Well, PRO needs a new car now. If you're watching, PRO needs a new car, please.
So you can go PRO dafa need new car.
He said if you are watching.
PRO is doing a nice job. PRO is doing a good job.
PRO moto. Lay lacce dafa am ko buga mu may ko wala nakal.
Ñu ko wara may moto ñu ngi xol. PRO soxla na moto bi pan na park na. Munuma wax de way PRO bana dal.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, but
we will still keep pushing. This is our country. We have no other country called the Gambia except this one. And then the last time I checked, the people of this country were called Gambians. I think they are still Gambians.
So we are.
The best people in the world, huh? Anyway, what we are saying is we cannot compromise fire engines, the safety and reliability of the fire engine. The fire engine get down, we all go down with it. Okay? My vehicle goes down, it's only me that goes down, I will always manage.
True.
But we do not have to manage a fire tender in order for it to work. Although most of them are not new, but we are also making the best use of them. So this is why part of the training, we complain or we cried out to our friends, our colleagues who help us at that. Our fire tenders need to be given some kind of our mechanics. need to be given some kind of training in case of this kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you so much, PRO, for joining us on the program, and you know, thumbs up to firefighters across the country.
Absolutely,
you
a very
guys
hard
get
job.
To risk your life to ensure that we are safe because of the amazing work that you do. And I am glad that you mentioned that some of the challenges that you've sat here to mention do not exist anymore. So now that we know this, we'll be able to ask the right questions when things go the other way. Now we know resource constraint is not existing anymore. Things are in place, and we hope that that will lead to, you know, less issues when it comes to fire, and that the public also has a responsibility to ensure you call early so that they have to pack up, put their stuff together to get there. If you call late, then there's nothing much that the firefighters can do. So let's take a look at sports now, as I am, you know, excited to be aware of how the North Bank region as well as the Roa River region competed at the Gambia Senior Secondary Schools National Athletics Championship, and Farafenye Senior Secondary Schools are the regional champions. This is good to know. You know, sports shouldn't just stop at the Greater Banjul area. We have a lot of individuals who are talented across the country, and it's good to know that there's that sort of division or decentralization of sporting activities in the country.
Absolutely.
To an extent that they could win. So we will be joined by Usman K. Kebe. Don't go anywhere. Let's talk sports when we come back.
Q Money and Orange Money has just made money transfer easier. Now you can send money from Gambia to Senegal directly from your Q Money wallet. So what are you waiting for? Get your Q Money account now and start sending money to your friends and families through Orange Money in Senegal now. For more information, call our customer care on 133. Q Money, Sunu Kalpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Q Money e Orange Money joni weɓini nuldugol mbuɗi mi yetoma joni ida wawi nuldude mbuɗi iwrako Gambia ɗo yaha Senegal e Q Money wallet ma on eyyi ko honno wonɗa e fadde mi yetoma udduto Q Money account ma on joni fuɗɗoɗa nuldude mbuɗi e teriɓe ma rewa ɗon ka Orange Money nder Senegal fi heɓugol hen ko laaɓi ida wawi noddude Q Money customer care e 133 Q Money suñu kalpe ɗum no yaadi e sartaji. Q Money anin Orange Money ye bulodi nyola pour ka kori kio sone yandi ka bonan Gambia banko kan kata Senegal banko kan anin Q Money wallet e ka mune batu e muna fan Q Money account wala sign pour ka dati ka kodoki e terimal anila dimbayal kana anin Orange Money Senegal ni lafta ku Senegal sotola je Q Money customer care commandi 133 Q Money suñu kalpe ñing sartolle bala. Q Money ak Orange Money ñoo lëkkaloo pour yombalal leen yónnee xaalis bàyyi ko Gambia dem ba Sénégal ak Q Money wallet looy toog di xaar dawal léegi nga ubbi Q Money account pour nga mun a door di yónnee xaalis sa xarit ak sa mbokk yi jaarale ko Orange Money Sénégal léegi pour am si lu leer mun nga call Q Money customer care si 133 Q Money suñu kalpe lii dafa ànd ak sarta yuñ tëral.
Mitoma. First time cross, really threatening, and it's dropped for Minte, rifled in! Out.
Did you know you can buy cash power using Q Money wallet absolutely free up to 30,000 C's? Use our app or dial 323 hash and select Q Power. Choose Register Meter. Enter your meter number. Dial *323 hash and follow these simple steps. Number 1, select option 3 for Q Power. Number 2, choose option 1 to buy any amount of Q Power. Enjoy free QCell airtime every time you cash in to purchase Q Power. For any inquiries, call 133. Q Money, Sunyu Kalbe.
If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. Now let's take a look at what is happening when it comes to grassroots sports in the Gambia. And we're joined by Mr. Usman K. Kebe, who's the Vice President of the GSSA. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Kebe. First of all, before we talk about the championships, the champions and all of that, let's take a look at how grassroots sports, specifically sports at the level of high schools, you know, has been evolving over the years. You know, the attention of inter-house is happening, how selections are being made from there. How has it evolved over the years, you know, grassroots athletics?
Thank you, madam. I think it has been an issue long been discussed about how grassroots football should be developed in this country. It's a very important matter for the fact that this is where you can identify the talents. And it is from that level, at the grassroots, that you can identify the talents, nurture them up to a level that they will reach at the apex of participating internationally, participating for the nation and equally for the individual regions. I think it is very important. As far as the Secondary School Sports Association is concerned, we came into office some 5-6 years ago, and thinking of how best we can also join to make sure that sport is developed from a grassroots level. And we are able to come together, look at what were the problems and how we can contribute to making sure that grassroots football or grassroots sports generally is developed. And as a result, what we did is to make sure that we have structures all over the country, so that we have coordinators that will be coordinating with the physical and health education teachers at various schools to identify, nurture these talented athletes to a level, so that at the end it will be easier for the GAA and then for the Gambia Football Federation to be able to, you know, further chip in and then start from that point.
Physical education. Yeah. So how do you think these structures can enhance and benefit the sporting activities when it comes to the schools?
In fact, Mr. Bell, I think it has developed, it has evolved from rapidly, in fact, for that matter, because we were concerned and then we made sure that the structures are placed at the regional level. And annually what we do is that they would be engaged in the sporting activities. That is what we call the inter-house. And then the purpose of the inter-house is to identify, you know, talented athletes to be able to participate for the region. Like it is done in segment. Like for instance, if you start at school level, from the school level it will go to a cluster level sort of, and then to a regional level. Then from a regional level it goes to a national level. And that's what we are annually doing. Schools will be engaged in inter-schools to identify their various athletes at school level. Then from there you prepare them, then get into a regional level where many schools will join at the regional level and compete. And then from there they get to the national level, where all those identified, the qualifiers, will get to the national level and compete.
So I have two questions. The first one is on physical education and the second one is on inter-house. Gambia, inter-house, the hale, then could they anticipate, participate, you know, you see what they're participating. Because even
it's more of party now.
Them, they go, you know, you don't see that sporting spirit. Even if you're not on the track, you're not an athlete, but you don't see that sense of interest of them even supporting their various houses. Come time, inter-house, I'm a blue house. All these, the traditional way of it, it's kind of losing its glory. So what is the association doing to ensure that inter-house is actually not what it is made right now, but the actual sporting activity that students can participate in normally?
No, it all depends on sensitizing the students, the purpose of inter-house.
Okay.
And in fact, well, as far as we are concerned, we have realized that it is going back to the glory sort of.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Because like if you are able to witness some of the inter-house, you will see that the glory is coming up. You know, it's not more of a fanfare where you go to party or you put on Saturday. Yeah, actually. You know, there is this kunda thing going on in some schools, actually. So the purpose is that initially, people were not engaged in physical and health education, teaching. But now, let me tell you that even at the West African examination level and within the Gabeke level, grade 9, you'll be surprised to see that students are performing very well, in physical and health education, likewise in other subject areas. So this is a manifestation that actually...
But theory and practical can be different.
No, they are all the same, because you have to do theory and at the same time you do practical. The examination is not based only on theory. The practical aspect is there, that is also of a percentage, and then the theory aspect is there. So by virtue of, in fact, going to some of these competitions, you will be convinced that honestly the issue of, giving your talents and coming up is coming up really.
Because ñun time in school PE la guy dan use for noppale kooku. Ñun PE, it's not like we used to go and do anything serious, physical activity or anything. So I'm glad that is changing, and
actually.
And students are actually choosing it.
Yeah, because you have more PE teachers now in schools than before. In those days, you go to a school, you may not even find a PE teacher.
Absolutely.
But now, hardly you go to a school where you will not find one or two or three.
So when you do PE, what are some of the career prospects? Because if students,
there are many. There are many, for the fact that, you must be engaged in what you are doing and you must be serious in doing it. And it is the PET, physical and health education teachers, to nurture and then to make sure that they impact the knowledge to the young ones that are coming, and then to participate. In participation, you must make sure that you are not participating for fun. You are participating for at least to become a career, sort of. Like if you are an athlete, you want to become a long distance runner or a middle distance or whatever, then obviously you must focus, and then you must know all the criteria of, developing yourself. And
sometimes I think it's the problems that lay ahead when it comes to some of these activities. A student will tell you, I don't think I would be able to further when I want to be a long distance runner. Probably we do not have the proper infrastructure in the country to enhance my skills. So it's just going to be a waste of time.
No, I think, as I've just said, there are improvements going on. Even though we do not have enough infrastructure.
Gina have to go to Senegal or another country to
Well, anyway, I think this is a national matter, and I think those concerned should also be very much ready to make sure that this part of it is also improved. But I'm made to understand the stadium is still in renovation, and we expect that when it is finished, the tracks will also be in place, and then the facilities that are lacking would also be in place, so that our young athletes can be helped, so that they can have that necessary training.
So quickly, we have a minute to go. Can you just take us through how Farafenni Senior Secondary School were crowned champion?
Well, I think she is interested only about the North Bank area.
Well,
in fact, our new initiative is that this year you must be aware that the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education have divided schools like the upper basic and senior secondary schools. And that has created an unprecedented increment of schools participating. Like North Bank and LRR is a region where you have two regions joining together and at an NBR. And to our surprise this year, a lot of schools have participated in that region. It has increased, tremendously.
Thank you so much for joining us.
He was also Momodu Gajaga's teacher.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program. So unfortunately, due to time constraints, we have to let you go. But you've talked about the most important aspects, which is how grassroots football is increasing, how physical education is also improving in schools, and aside from that, how also inter-house is also improving.
We need that. So February is out of a body.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us on the program. We really appreciate
hope to engage you more in the future.
Exactly. And do stay tuned throughout the week. And I guess all of us are gearing up for the 60th independence anniversary of the Gambia. And on This Morning, every single day, we'll be featuring a story that is targeting Gambia and its 60th anniversary. See you on Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a nice day.